Welcome to the most exciting podcast that showcases development issues in the world. And it's a good place to clap.
It's a good
one. You never expected that intro.
I didn't.
No, I just pulled it out.
I never expected it.
I know you never expected
I never expected it.
I just pulled out a rabbit out.
I know. The magician.
Literally, I just pulled it out. And that is development now. That is what we do here. We showcase success stories of development organizations. And that way you can see yourself in their work. You can see the amazing things that they're doing to make the country better. Of course, we started from Nigeria. Charity begins at home. But one of the exciting things that, fascinates me when we see the feedback from you, that is, we started getting feedbacks from Nigerians in Italy.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, there's a particular guy, I'm not going to call his name. There's a particular guy, because I've had to now meet him virtually. And the guy said, please never stop this.
Aww.
And now,
muchos gracias. That's Italian, right?
Muchos gracias. That's Spanish now.
Oh, sorry. No gracias. Sorry. No.
Just say it in your language. Just say it in your language. Leave it like that. So now, what excited me about him is that he said, please keep doing this. We in the diaspora, some of us don't believe anything good is happening at home. But when you see what these development organizations are doing, whether it's small, on a medium scale, on a large scale, it gives us hope that something is happening at home. I'm telling you. So shout out to you, know yourself. I said subscribe button is on. So one thing comes on, in fact, I know the kind of job he does. So he'll tell me, he'll comment, a new episode just dropped. I've seen it. When I get home, I'm not going to settle down and,
thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
I mean, shout out to you. We're getting feedback also from East Africa.
Forgive my poor Italian.
No, leave your Italian.
I do better in French. I'm English.
For the record, my name is Bumi Afolabi. Some call me Mr. Speaker, some call me Mr. Development. And we're right here on this episode. It is episode 12. Wow. So please, there's episode 12. That means there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 before 12. Please go back, check them out, see what we're doing, and see what these development organizations are doing, okay? To make the country a better place, support them, comment on their work, like them, give them feedback. Let them also get a feeling. Let them get that vibe that somebody is, somebody's watching, somebody's looking at what they're doing, somebody appreciates what they're doing. Yes. As always, full house, we have my strike partner, my friend, my troublemaker. Today, no Gen Z. No, Gen Z.
We're trying to keep it.
I went somewhere and Gen Z almost mobbed me.
I've told you, the day they come for
I'll tell you about.
Not defend.
I'll tell you about that off camera. Gen Z. No, somebody fought for them. So they're like, hey, he's been saying rubbish since. So now, Gen Z, shout out to Gen Z. The one and only Ugona Uwajumogu.
Thank you so much for joining us in another exciting episode of Dev Now. Bumi has said it all. This is episode 12. We continue to highlight and share success stories of organizations in development. And I hope you've been enjoying every episode. We've been putting in so much work to deliver good content for you and to also to educate you. And I hope it's been a delightful journey for you as it's been for us. So welcome to episode 12. I was trying to think about how to say 12 in Italian.
Just leave it.
I'm just going to abandon
just
that.
Leave
but
that.
You know what? The editor is going to put it like he's going to
with AI.
Yeah, with AI.
Okay.
Like, whatever it is.
All right.
And I will learn from that. But yeah, welcome to another episode. We're so excited. We have an amazing guest here. An amazing topic, an amazing organization, and let's get into it.
Yes, so we're about to get into it. I'll introduce our guest. She said the word educate. It's very important. Our guest will educate, he will enlighten, he will inspire. He will say some things that may dampen your morale, but you have to just, because where they work is, the space they work is tough. I was asking him before we started taping that, how do you wake up in the morning? We'll soon get to that. We have the executive director, Madiba Foundation, in the person of Mr. Fredrick Adetiba. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming through. So, no time to check time. We'll just give a brief rundown on what Madiba Foundation, where you get on their website, what you're going to see. So I'm not adding any sugar or pepper to it. He'll be the one adding the sugar and spice to it, and all of that. Yeah. So Madiba Foundation is a Pan-African non-governmental organization which seeks to promote social equality in the process of development for the African race. All right. African race.
Yes. And at the Madiba Foundation, they believe that true development cannot be achieved without ensuring that every individual has access to equal opportunities and resources. So their work is rooted in the principles of justice, equity, and empowerment.
Justice, equity, empowerment. All right. So that is what you'll find on the Madiba Foundation website. Tell us something that is not in those 2 paragraphs that you would want someone to just know about when they hear, hey, you're the executive director of Madiba Foundation, something that you're excited to tell them about Madiba Foundation.
I would say the team. We have such a wonderful team, and there's a small team, but really wonderful. And what is wonderful with that team is that these are young people who are truly committed to a better country and a better continent. A couple of days ago, I called for a meeting. This was actually a Monday, and I was asking them, and I asked a question, and the question was, what is this to you? I asked, what is this work, the work we're doing at the foundation to you? And I got each and every one of them to respond, their feedback. And one thing that I saw, that cut across all their responses is that for them, the work we do at the foundation is giving them a sense of purpose. And so every day they come to the office, and every time they get to work on any of our projects, so for them it's not just a job, it's a cause. And over time I have seen that. Yes, I have seen that. And so I would say we have such a wonderful team, guys who are committed to the cause of development and good governance in Nigeria.
Wow. Speaking of
few good men. I had to try.
I just knew you had to.
I couldn't miss that.
Yeah, but something you said is more than just a job, as a cause. So can you shed some light about the inspiration, especially when it has to do with the name Madiba Foundation? Because once you hear the name Madiba Foundation, the first thing that comes to your mind is Nelson Mandela, and we all know about his legacy and his impact. So could you share more light on the inspiration for the founding of the organization, and then why the name Madiba?
All right. We decided to name the foundation after Nelson Mandela because of what he represents. Even though he's late, his legacy still lives on the continent, and he's someone that his values and what he did resonate even beyond the continent, all across the world. And there are some values and certain things that we can, when we look at Nelson Mandela's life, what he did was amazing, was astounding. One, you see his commitment to the liberation of his people, South Africans. And at the end of the day, and everything he went through, he took ownership. He took ownership of the freedom, and then he went and then paid the price. These are some of the things that we can actually extract from his life. And then beyond that, even after the end of the apartheid regime, he had the opportunity of coming into office, and he stayed for one tenure. That is unlike a lot of the freedom fighters that we have on the continent.
They just get there
and then they perpetuate themselves in the office. He stayed there and spent just one tenure. And then he moved on. So these are some of the values that we can see in the life of Nelson Mandela. So we decided to name the foundation after him. And also because our operations, we're looking at our operation extending to different parts of the continent.
Okay.
And our vision is actually a continent that Africans everywhere can be justly proud of.
Amen to that.
It is ambitious, it is ambitious. We're taking
it's not impossible.
It's not impossible.
It's not impossible. But amen to that. I have, funny enough, I have hope, right?
I
always think of, I'm a process
very
guy.
Positive. He's a very positive guy.
But I'm a process guy.
Mr. Positive.
So, in my mind, I'm like, okay, it will happen, but how? The process. Because I'm a process guy,
But the question is, will it happen in our lifetime?
So I came up with this line about 5 years ago. It was like a personal statement of mission and desire, and I put it this way, that Africa will come out of the doldrums in my lifetime.
Oh wow!
It is my desire that Africa will come out of the doldrums in my lifetime.
I think I should add that to my no, for real.
And that then propels everything that I do.
Oh.
Because it's one thing to have a vision, then you have to look at where you are. Is the path that you are on, is it towards fulfilling that vision?
Fulfilling that vision.
Yeah. So that's who I am. That's what I do. And so I'm committed to that.
Okay. Now, I found this statement. You made this statement actually on one of the videos I saw.
Okay.
Yeah. To harness youth energy to drive good governance. To harness youth energy to drive good governance. It's been about 3 years.
Yeah.
How is this statement working so far?
I would like to take us back a little bit, so that we can understand the background, the backdrop, against which we have this statement. If you look at our independence, the people that actually fought for our independence, Nigeria's independence, they were young people.
Yeah.
They were young people. They got together and they had strategy, and eventually we had our independence.
Yeah.
And then if you look across the continent, it was young people harnessing the creativity and energy of young people to achieve independence across the continent. And then coming back to Nigeria again, if you look at even the return of a democratic rule in 1999, majority of those people that were there, NADECO members and the rest of them, were relatively young people.
Yeah, especially when they started.
Yes, when they started, relatively young people. And then coming down again to our time, recently we experienced the NSAS protest. Yeah. We saw the energy of young people. I was part of the Not Too Young to Run movement, that started in 2016.
Yeah.
And then eventually in 2018, we were able to get the president to lower the age qualification for running for some elective offices in Nigeria.
Yeah.
Young people did that.
Yeah.
And so if you look over the spectrum of time, you would see that young people have always, had this energy that if channeled properly, it's able to help us achieve progress. And so what we're now doing on the platform of Organizing for a New Nigeria is harnessing the energy, the creativity, the vision, and the drive of young people to drive development and promote good governance. And all of the instances I've mentioned, they were things that came up in different times addressing certain particular issues. But the question is, what happens if we have a movement of young people that is sustained over a period, that is not just addressing maybe NSAS and then if you do that, addressing maybe reduce age qualification for running for elective position, to open up the political space for young people. Yeah. And then we did that. We were able to achieve some things. And then it's more or less, the momentum has gone down. But what we're trying to do with ONN is a movement that we're building. And it's also a platform that we consistently harness the energy and creativity of young people to drive development and promote good governance. And so the backdrop, like I said, is these different instances that
young people
been able to do those things. So we're now saying, okay, let's create a platform, because we believe that there are still a number of passionate, committed young people out there, Nigerians out there, who, given the platform and the opportunity, they will be willing to contribute their quota to repositioning Nigeria. So that is what that platform represents.
Considering the state of the country, talking about economically, security-wise, and the likes, do you think, you've talked about your team, but honestly, in terms of feedback, especially with the Organizing for a New Nigeria program, has the feedback been positive largely among the youths? Because you would recall before we sat here to tape this, I had asked you a question. How do you bounce back when it's as if you made progress in certain areas? You wake up tomorrow and you see a headline and it's as if, man, who is this guy? It's like the person has pulled, you know, what was done the day before, like 10 steps back. So honestly, are you getting the kind of feedback that you want to be able to organize for a new Nigeria, harnessing the energy of the youths?
I would say yes, largely. Yes, largely. With the challenges notwithstanding, but of course, when you have difficulties and challenges like we have in Nigeria, you would expect that, you know, morale will be dampened. So again, you have to expect that, and then you build that into your programming. But of course, it comes as shocks to us anytime it happens. But I would say, also speak on the positive side, you know, last year we launched the platform Organizer for a New Nigeria.
Yeah.
And in that meeting, there were a lot of young people in the room, and quite a number of them. And it was around the time we're having difficulties with fuel, the price of PMS and all of that. As a matter of fact, when we're putting that program together, we're like, oh my goodness, this fuel thing, how will young people make it to this event? How are we going to be able to tell young people to commit to a country that seems not to care about them, you know, in that sense?
Yeah.
You know, but we went ahead, and at the end of the day, and I said to my team that I know there are problems, but we should not make the event about problems. Let's make the event about solutions. So let's make it about hope. And at the end of the day, we were able to achieve that because the room, you know, got lit with hope. It was more like, even in the midst of these challenges, there is hope for the country. And then we had the launch of another project this year, I Am the New Nigeria campaign.
Yeah.
That as well, a number of young people came to us and like, now I think I believe in Nigeria again. I think I'm going to do the right thing by Nigeria again, you know. And so we realized that even though there are challenges, there are difficulties that I must admit are making even our work tough. You know, because you're trying to get young people to believe in this country, make sacrifices, you know, to salvage this country and all of that. And then in the midst of all of that, you're dealing with economic hardship. It's tough. However, I've seen young people, you know, it's more like a spark. You know, it's more like a spark. You know how we are like energies. You know, and so when you go to a place and you're exuding a positive vibe, somehow you see one or two people picking up.
Pick it up.
Yes, that's what we've been saying. You know, so being positive, being hopeful, and putting out those messages, they are having that kind of effect. You know, even though not on a large scale as you would expect, because we are managing our expectations. You have to manage your expectations, because if you don't manage your expectations, you will get frustrated. Yeah, so we are managing our expectations, but we are also looking at those little sparks here and there that we are igniting in young people.
Okay. So young people, I love that you've established that they're leading change, protest, creativity, and, you know, fighting for independence. You said the people who fought for independence are young, all the way down to 1999. But do you, as an organization, or maybe as an individual, do you feel frustrated of the push and pull to allow younger people into government? And do you believe that the older generation are threatened by the younger generation?
I am concerned, you know, I mean, taking it from the first part of the question, I'm concerned about the pull and the drawback that young people are having. And talking about the threats with the older generation, I believe is there. And it's unfortunate that older folks are not actively, you know, preparing and opening up opportunities for young people. It's quite unfortunate. one of the ways we then decided to respond to some of the constitutional barriers, to participation of young people in politics in 2016, like I said, with Not Young to Run movement, was to, advocate for amendment to the constitution, which then lowered the age qualification. I remember when the bill was signed into law by the former president, Muhammadu Buhari, I was there with the national strategy team of the movement, in the
State House.
State House. As we were finishing, calls were coming in and young people were calling me, Fred, please, can we go campaign now? Can I start campaigning now? Will I not be able to, because there were young people that were looking at, okay, some of them 26, 25, that, and the law at the time stated was like you must be 30 to be able to run to the State House of Assembly.
And then 40 for
president.
Governorship. Yes.
Yeah. And so we're able to bring those down by 5 years.
Yeah.
And so immediately I said, yes, it has been signed. So you can now start campaigning. And they were excited. So they went and started campaigning. And quite a number of them made it. Some of the guys actually called me, made it. And they are still running for office and still in office as we speak.
Wow.
And so it's there that the older folks are not willing to leave the stage. And it's unfortunate. But what we then have to do is not to wait and allow them to give us the stage. We now have to fight for it. Young people will now have to fight for it. That's what you have to do.
But younger people are, if I can speak freely, Nigeria is a country where it is said that you need a certain amount of money to run for elections. However, money is something that is not easily accessible to younger folks. So aside needing money, is that another thing that aside the bill rather, is that another thing that you believe INEC or maybe the government can, or maybe even the top political parties, and I mean APC, I mean PDP, I mean APGA, I mean Labour Party, maybe is it NNPP? Yeah. Do you think there are things or formulas or things they could do to accommodate younger people? Because if we're keeping it a buck, Nigeria is almost run as a two-party state, right? There are a few parties that might stand out. You have APGA in Anambra. You might have the NNPP in Kano State. So is there something that they can do to really accommodate, to really give young people a chance? Because right now, although I'm glad to hear that a few of the people who called you to celebrate did get into office, but we're also talking about younger people, not just a select number, but a good number, and not just a low. First of all, there's no position that is irrelevant, right? But to climb the ropes of politics, because most times I'm yet to see a young governor. Do you get what I mean? I'm yet to see a young senator. It's mostly maybe House of Reps, maybe State House. So is that something that...
Okay, there's a young senator, but just go on.
Young?
Yeah, there's a young.
Is he cute?
Really?
I don't want to call his name because that's free publicity.
Well, how young is he?
How young is he?
I want to be young. Early 30s.
Yeah.
Senator.
From the South. Let's leave it as that.
Oh, I think I know who you're talking about. Sorry for giving. Okay, aside that's an anomaly.
But that's just one person.
That's just one person, right?
So, when I saw him, that's why I had to take it.
Yeah. So forgive.
Who's this dude?
I also know a couple young people in the Federal House of Representatives.
Yeah.
However, these people have parents who have assumed such an office. So I'm talking about those who have no. There's no agency of nepotism. There's no father. There's something that these parties can do to truly, if you say you want to give young people a chance to run, you say you're not too young to run, what are the changes that can happen in the electoral framework? Sorry for the long.
Yeah, it's actually an important question, but I would like to even just start with our mental framework. Because if we don't do something to our mindset, we won't be able to do anything meaningful with our electoral framework. It starts with the mind, because you see the framework, the policies and all of that, they are being shaped by a certain mindset. So let me speak to that mindset, and this is for older people. I'm not a youth anymore. I'm in my early 40s. And so
youth ends at 40.
What?
Youth and
From 36, you're no longer youth.
So definition of
So
youth.
Gona, you're not a youth.
I'm a youth. I still have some years, please.
And so, but we still say, okay, young people. But for me, even for Madiba Foundation that I'm leading, from the moment we started, I started planning my exit. In everything that I do, organizations that I lead, even the church that I pastor, I'm open to that. Like, started raising replacement people. So this has to be our mindset. We need to have this mindset. But the mindset of just perpetuating yourself in that seat and in that office is not going to move us forward. So that's the first thing I want to address.
So, but how would that mindset change?
So
because
now,
we see that happening.
Yes. Now I'm using this platform to appeal to everybody that is watching, because I know that Dev Now is going to go everywhere. And I know a couple of older people are watching this right now. So I'm appealing to you guys, appealing to everybody watching this. Please, it is important. Every one of us must take that on to say we must make room for young people. Young people are innovative. Young people are creative. Young people have, and I respect the wisdom of the old. It's okay, but we must be very deliberate. The same way we're pushing for women inclusion as well, because they all fit into the same box. Yes, the same box, And so it is important because young people, women, they make a large chunk of our population. And so it's important to bring them to the table and include them in the decision-making process. And so I want to say that we must, so again, is appeal to say it is important for us to have a mindset that is, open to encouraging young people, raising a replacement generation. As a matter of fact, in my organizations, and even in church that I lead, I will always tell the leaders, as you're coming into that office, put a process in place to replace yourself. I'm not saying you're going to be fired, but start grooming the next leader. So that is the mindset that we must have. And then coming down to the political framework and policy framework that we have, one of the things we tried to do after the Not Too Young to Run bill was passed was to appeal to political parties to have some concessions for young people. Yeah, we did that.
Since independent candidature didn't fly,
it was removed. Because it was part of our demand.
Yeah.
But it was removed. So we now feel like, so now you have to be at the mercy of political parties. So we were appealing to them to say, okay, make some concessions. These young people don't have these millions of naira that you're asking
billions, you mean?
For nomination forms and expression of interest.
Exactly. Nomination forms being 5 million, 20 million, 43 million.
Crazy, 100 million.
How can the youth afford that? Even the old people, how many of them can even afford it? That's talking.
And so we need to make concessions for young people. We need to make concessions for women as well, particularly when it comes to the prices, of these forms. Another thing that we also pushed for that didn't do very well is parties reserving some elective positions, for young people. But that was not, taken. But again, we can continue to push, in that regard as well. But it's a tough one, but we can't give up. We have to keep pushing. But generally, we need to give women and we need to give more young people opportunity to come in and play active role in governance. All right.
So in the course of the Organizing for a New Nigeria program, you implemented I Pledge to Vote campaign.
Yeah.
And your report states that 5,206 people were directly and indirectly influenced, and 2.4 million through strategic online and offline engagements through such as radio jingles, town hall meetings, video messages, pamphlets, and the likes. Now, how well would you say this impacted Nigerians, especially the young people, in terms of voter apathy? Because we saw a lot of that in the 2023 general elections, and other attending issues we see along those lines.
I would say this, that our work, I Pledge to Vote, with the work of other civil society organizations, because there were a lot of projects around that towards the 2023 election, where we did a lot of campaigns, We partner with some of these organizations as well, assisted INEC with registration, took registration centers to places that were difficult. For example, we had door-to-door campaign at Model Market here in Abuja, and then we realized that most of them were not registered. And we asked them, why are you not registered? They said it's usually tough, difficult, and they couldn't leave their place of business to go and register because of the time. And so we made an arrangement, with INEC and all of that, and they brought a registration center to the place. And then we also assisted them in people that needed to move their polling units, for ease of voting because of movement and all of that. Yeah. So we did all of that, and other organizations also, did all of that. I would say that at the end of the day, we're able to record about a little over 10 million first-time voters. Yes, in the last election. So I would say that is a plus. However, the problem you raised, we had it because turnout generally was low, very poor. When we compare the people that actually came out to the number of registered voters. But I want to believe that even which was really poor compared to the last general election. I think about 26% But I want to believe, all right, that the 26% turnout that we had, I want to say this, and I'm saying this carefully, I believe that majority of that percentage came from the 10 million first-time voters that we had. This just happened. Yes. Yeah. And the reason I'm saying that is that there were a number of young people that got interested. A number of young people got interested. And of course, which was also a fallout of NSAS protest, and I want to believe they came out. And it's like the older folks just sat back, and then come out to vote. So I would say that is what I can, attribute those efforts to. Yeah. That, a lot of people, came out to register, and there are different levels to the campaign. So the first is getting people to register. The second is getting people to collect their cards. Yeah, it was another major problem because over the years, in 2019, thereabout, I saw when I went to collect my cards, I saw a lot of cards uncollected. So we had to then initiate campaigns.
What do you think is the problem? Why? Is it logistics? Is it?
I would say yes, and there's been a lot of clamor. Civil society organizations have been working with INEC to see how to correct all of that, because when you make registration difficult, the process not seamless, even the collection not seamless, people will not, just losing. Yeah. So over time, we've just been working with INEC to see how they can make the processes.
So what ways do you think they can make the process simpler? Because honestly, I do agree that when the process is harder, you would lose interest. You lose interest. People, Nigerians, a lot of Nigerians already do not believe that their vote will count. So if I don't believe that my vote will count, and then I try to register and your system is glitching, or I go to the center to register, there's 300,000 people there and the lines are moving very slowly, I am definitely going to go home and I'm under the sun. So in your opinion or expertise, what are the ways that they can make it secure? Because of course, there's sense in the process, but what ways can they make it easier to encourage people?
Yeah, I would say that INEC did better in terms of that part, towards the 2023 elections over 2019. And some of the things they did was they created more registration centers. And so they did that. They also made movement of polling units easier. So there were some of the things that they did to make the process seamless. And what they just then need to do is to continue to do that, to ensure that we have more registration centers. And then one major thing I also think that INEC needs to do, we call it continuous voter registration. It should actually be continuous. They should not wait until
the election time.
Getting to the election period. I wanted to just finish from.
I should be able to now just walk into INEC office to say, okay,
get it done now.
Damaged. I need a replacement. I should be able to get a replacement now. It shouldn't be that wait until that process opens. It should actually be continuous because every day, young Nigerians are turning 18.
Yeah.
As soon as they turn 18, they should be able to walk into their local government.
And it's a form of an identity card.
It's a form of an identity, They should be able to walk in and say, I just turned 18, so
and I want
my card. So it doesn't have to be
close to the election period. There's a lot of rush.
Yes. So those are the things that we still need to continue to engage with INEC on.
But since you've been working with INEC for a while, I'm not saying become an INEC spokesperson, but is there a particular reason why that is not being done?
I would need to really find out why that is not being done. And to honestly, and this question that you just asked, I'm going to actually pose to INEC officials to really find out what the issue is.
What the issue is.
But again, it's not going to be outside of the bureaucratic issues that we have generally in Nigeria and our public service, where there is no efficiency, and all of that. So it won't be outside of that. So maybe, say, okay, manpower and all of that, because, usually during elections, they get to hire a lot of ad hoc staff, and all of that. But I think it's something they should be able to do. I don't think you have to really deploy a lot of manpower to do that. It's just to have a desk, that would just be, a couple of computers in the local government, different local government areas, all the local government areas, where people who are turning 18 can just go there and do it.
What about technology? Because I think you can register at home with your system. You can do your whole capture. But the system glitches. I remember when I tried to do it with my system, and for some reason, some error code, it wouldn't capture. It wouldn't it feels like the technology was made in the early 50s. I'm not trying to be shady, but it's true. It's true. There's a lot of catch up we need to do when it has to do with technology.
Yeah.
Do you feel the same?
I think the challenge again with that is when you're trying to get something done and it's rush and everybody's on the same system
at the same time,
you will experience that. And of course,
that goes back to what you said. It should be
continuous. So if it is continuous, to reduce the pressure on the server.
Because I'm wondering now, if your passport expires, you don't have to wait for a passport.
There's no time for every Nigerian you can travel between.
This time and this time. It doesn't happen. So that's the part I still can't wrap my head around.
So that's what we need.
That's what should be happening. Because
that should be happening.
At that point, we have a culture of always rushing when it's the last minute.
Yep.
But if that is ongoing, you would have a couple of people that would say, hey, this thing there's no rush now.
I'm bored today. Let me go get it.
Yes, I have the time, so let me go get it done.
Yeah. It's just like the NIN thing, but let's not
maybe offer some coffee and biscuits or something. Sorry.
Coffee and biscuits while that is going on.
While you wait, just sitting down the lobby.
She's an American, right?
This one?
Yes. She's definitely an American.
I plead the fifth.
She's giving me an American vibe.
I
British, so it makes sense. No, British, American.
I plead the fifth. I won't even say that.
It makes so much sense. Just as I said, when Americans in other countries, a friend of mine, when we were in South Africa, actually did one of my programs there. A friend of ours was an American, was going to his embassy. And so I was like, let's go together. And then, and he entered the American embassy with the American, and they had a section for non-Americans, and they had a section for Americans. And then Americans, once you walk into that embassy, there's special treatment. You have tea, and I'm like, and the guy was like,
you not like that's Nigerian embassy abroad, though.
I said, by the time he said, let me even go to Nigerian house, we gotta say hello to my people. From the gate. The antagonism was from the gate. What are you doing here? How can we help you? How can we help? Say, I'm in Nigeria.
Why you?
Come and say hello to my... It was like...
What I've gotten from this conversation is that my future husband is American. So, thank you.
Did I tell them where
Sean? What are your name?
Did I tell them where your future husband
is? He's not from...
Let's leave it. It doesn't have to do with good governance. Let's just leave it.
All right. I was going to ask a question, and I'm just going to shoot it point blank. Do you believe that young people are serious about governance? Or do you think that maybe we've lost hope, or maybe we're just unserious. Maybe it's not something we deem a priority. Maybe we're too busy. And I will say we because I'm young. Maybe we're too busy entertaining ourselves. Do you think that we're actually serious about governance? So if you give a young person a chance, they would perform.
Let me add to that question.
Yeah.
Because something funny happened. See, I've been waiting for a day to say this now.
Please. And let us know, Sensei.
Yes, I will. So during the last election, because I was handling certain duties, I couldn't go to vote. When I was done with it, I went back home and I had some people in my house, were just monitoring the election, watching it on TV and whatnot. And one of the people, my house was crowded. There were just lots of people in there. And I was now explaining, I won't go too deep into what led to what. So some people don't antagonize me. You understand? Because we all have our political leanings.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I was trying to explain a process to someone. And I said, if such and such thing happens, how many persons would they even have in the National Assembly? When I say how many persons would they have I'm talking about Senate and House of Reps. And the person first brushed it off. Then I said it again. The person said, and this is a young person. I said, I didn't think the National Assembly was that important.
Okay. Yeah.
So I stopped talking. Am I the one that will now, where do I want to start lecturing you on the importance?
Okay, hold on. How did he say it? So, maybe, okay, how did she say, that's disappointed. She's a woman. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is when people say, I didn't think the National Assembly was more important. I think I know what she was leaning to, but was she trying to be sarcastic? Because there's some people who think that the National Assembly just exists as a bunch of jesters, right?
So
a bunch of clowns. And there's some people
I thought it was
who just don't know the function.
I thought it was a sarcasm. Then I pushed a bit further. Don't you see the whole budget? I just use the budget because that one is always televised.
Yeah.
So I said, don't you see the whole budget process, how heads of MDAs have to come and defend it, and how if they don't defend it well, they probably may have their budgets, stepped down and things like that. And the person's like, that's true. I actually didn't think all of that.
How old is this person?
No, let's leave the person's age. So back to the question.
What I asked was that let's ascertain where. Just move on.
So it got me. I was bothered.
I am bothered.
I was like, okay, yes. Right. Some people went to fight for not too young to run. Are youths even making an effort? Are they even making a conscious effort to say, hey, what is going on in that organization? Let's not even go into deep stuff like you're going into investigative reporting or something. No, what is just on the pages of the papers? Does an average young person take out time to say, hey, what is going on here? Mm-hmm. What do they mean by this?
Yeah. I think everything that both of you have raised, I will say yes to everything. One, yes to, we have significant number of young people who will prefer entertainment to civic engagement.
Yeah.
So that's a yes.
Mm-hmm.
Ogona, you raised that. Yes also to low-level education, civic education as well. Quite a number of people are not well educated, in terms of even understanding statecraft, understanding the running of government, understanding the roles and responsibilities of the three arms of government, and even our elected officials. So that is actually a challenge. And there are quite a number of organizations, including ours, that are taking that on. So part of what we do is civic education, and also trying to get young people to see that, because as we have alluded to earlier on, there's apathy. It's there, and part of the reason again is also the thinking that, my voice will not count, my vote will not count, and all of that.
Yeah.
So what we're doing alongside other organizations is to educate people.
Yeah.
Because that is very, very important. Understanding the roles of different arms of government is important. So that lack of education is actually a major problem, that we have, and that we have to also address. We have a project that we are working on We've not implemented it yet. It's called Wakili. So
Wakili.
Yes.
Okay. Is it acronyms for something or?
No, it's actually Hausa term for representative.
Wakili.
Yes, my representative.
Oh, I didn't know.
I
know someone who bears that.
My Wakili.
Yes.
So
if I called somebody my Wakili, it would mean
someone who represents you.
He represents me.
Yes.
Okay. My Wakili.
All right, so the project, what the project is going to do, and it's also part of what we want to use to, address these issues that you've raised. It's going to have details of elected officials.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to have their
details and numbers. That's what
including contact numbers, their profile, contact numbers. After each election cycle, you'll be able to see everything there from local government to the president. It will have their as much as possible their campaign promises, so that you can go back and check, okay, he promised this, he promised that, she promised this, she promised that, and all of that, so you can track, how, yes. And then it's also going to have their statutory responsibilities, because quite a number of Nigerians don't know the statutory responsibilities of the elected officials
at all.
And that is why you will find someone who would not know what the role of the National Assembly is, and that is why you see everybody.
I find that mind-boggling.
It's there. Honestly,
that's you.
Quite a number of people.
To be informed.
Honestly, quite a number of people are not informed. And that is why you see anything that is going wrong in Nigeria is the president.
The president.
I
they don't think about the governor. They don't think about that person.
I had a conversation one time on X. I can't get used to calling X Twitter, X, whatever. And I was saying, you cannot keep blaming. I'm not saying the president doesn't have any blame that should be thrown on him. No, but it's the federal government is not going to fix your state roads.
No.
They're going to fix your state hospitals, your state infrastructure. So it's not just the presidential election, because everybody wants to sign for election. Everybody, all they can see is who is running
president.
That's it.
Nobody cares about the State House of Assembly, which is also very important, because he doesn't know what the Senate is. Then I wonder if she knows anything that has to do with the State House
of Assembly,
or even local government chairman, or even councilmen and stuff like that.
Yeah. Absolutely. And so it's part of what we have to do as civil society organization to educate, because we want to increase participation. We want more people to come in and participate. And for us people to do that, we have to educate them. We have to let them know why it is important for them to participate.
While that is really good, I'm still asking myself, how do you make it interesting? Because, like you alluded to earlier, an average young person would rather want to see, such and such celebrity took a nude photo. You put that headline here. Then you put this other headline about such and such person misappropriated 20 billion.
Mm-hmm.
The person will say, let me check this. Let me check which celebrity is this one that took a nude. It's sadly.
Yeah.
So how do you even make it interesting for young people to say, hey, I want to check out that headline. Where did that person take that money from? Was it an MDA? Did it happen at the state level? Did it happen at the local government level or whatnot?
Yes.
How do you make it interesting?
It comes back again to education, civic education. The people will have to be informed. We have to get them to be interested. We have to let them know that these decisions affect them. So once they're able to increasingly see how decisions made by our elected officials, appointed officials, how it affects them, I believe they will start taking the necessary steps and then interest.
So it then begs the question, are the young people truly serious about governance? Because if we kind of have to cajole them to be interested, do you now believe that, we're really interested in this? And it could also be because a lot of young people I've met do not have any hope for Nigeria. There's also the part where they're just willfully ignorant.
Yeah.
And there's the part where they just
feel there's
do not have any hope for Nigeria. It's like they've seen their grandparents, there wasn't any change in their grandparents' life. They've seen there wasn't any change in their parents' life. So why on earth would theirs be different? Especially since we are going through one of the worst economic times we've ever faced in Nigeria. So it's like you've seen it get worse in your grandpa's lifetime. You've seen it get worse in your father's lifetime. And now it has come to your lifetime and you're buying fuel at over 1,000 naira. Something that was seen as indigestible about 5-10 years ago. None of us ever thought a day would come that you would spend over 1,000 naira buying a liter of fuel. Yeah. There's a time where we bought fuel at 65 naira. When Bumi was born, we were probably buying it at 2 naira. But
wow.
Wow.
Fantastic.
I know, like being born in the 50s is no easy.
I know.
But do you understand where I'm coming from?
And now let me add to that, because we're gradually winding down.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm the New Nigeria program.
Yeah.
There are some expressions I saw. I know you and your team had. So still hold on to what we're going to say. I need to add to it. This is like the icing on the cake. That was the cake. Let me put the icing on it, and then maybe we'll put a cherry pie on it. Yeah. So, I'm the New Nigeria. I went through what makes the program tick. I didn't pick all of the expressions, but I picked some of the most interesting ones.
Okay. Hit us.
Value reorientation.
Okay.
Get that.
Value
put it on the screen. Value
reorientation.
Behavioral change. National pride. It was when I said, I said, wait, I went back to the beginning again. National pride. Increased civic engagement. Yeah, we've been talking about that. Reduce negative behavior. Gonna reduce it.
Why are you looking at me and going like this?
Reduce negative behavior among young people. Now, so it got me thinking. That's why I said I'm going to piggyback on what Uguna just said. You know, now you're buying fuel. When you take 50,000 naira to the filling station,
50,000 naira. You're coming with a convoy.
You're coming with a convoy. Because then you feel you're talking about 10K.
Yeah.
Now 50K. When you say put 50K for me, even the once you open the fuel tank, you hear the thing you say.
Honestly, I put 50K in my car and it just went like almost halfway.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
I bought 50K. I mentioned 50K because I'm still feeling it. I bought 50K 2 days ago. When I was coming here, I looked at it, I was like, 50K has got in here now. I'm going to start getting another one already. That aside, now, so how do you, I mean, these expressions, these are not expressions Nigerian youth want to hear. Let me remind you of the expressions again. National pride. Reduce negative behavior. Value reorientation. Yeah? Now, so you want to do that among Nigerian youths, fostering these by leveraging the power of creative and compelling messages. I mean, the approach is fantastic. And we know that you guys will do what you say you do. But at this time, how well do you think Nigerian youths can receive these expressions? And that's why I actually picked them out.
I must admit, it's tough. It's tough for us. But this is what we're committed to. And why are we committed to this? A country cannot be better than the quality of its people.
A country cannot be better than the quality
of its people.
Okay.
Because, and when I mean quality of its people, I'm referring to our value system, referring to our conduct, public conduct, behavior. And because we're committed to a country that works for all its citizens. By the way, we also provide interventions in the areas of health, education, and poverty reduction.
Yeah.
The human development indicators. But for us to actually be able to achieve the overall goal of having a country that works for all its citizens,
yes,
we discover that it is important for us to still go back to the fundamentals, because these issues are fundamentals. And I know these are not issues that Nigerian youth or Nigerians in general want to hear or interact with, but they are also very important, because when you bring it down, it's not just about Nigerian youth. The campaign and the New Nigeria is not just about Nigerian youth. It is also about the leaders. It's for everybody, actually. It's actually for everybody. Because if you look at recently, end bad governance is still trending. It's something that is there. And I think it's something that we need to sustain. It's a campaign that should be sustained. But I was reflecting on that, and I felt like we should also add another hashtag, end bad behavior. Because you see that it is the everyday bad behavior of the ordinary person that we take into governance.
Oh. With 2 drops make an ocean.
Yes. Yeah. Where we're talking earlier on, I mean, we'll find it difficult to obey simple traffic light.
Yeah.
It's one of the simplest laws to keep.
Yeah.
But we find it difficult to do that. And then it's easier for us to point accusing fingers and say, is the president, is this person? They are a reflection of us. Except if we just want to lie to ourselves. Our leaders are a reflection of us. They actually from the society. You see, that statement that people deserve the leaders they get is actually true.
Do we deserve?
It's actually true. Unfortunately, it's not a pleasant thing to admit, but unfortunately, it is true. And so now what we then want to do at the foundation is to address and approach the situation from all angles. So on one hand, we are providing interventions in education, supporting schools, going to, rural schools and providing, interventions. All right. But we also feel like it's also good if we talk to ourselves as Nigerians and say, okay, how are you being a part of the solution? Are you being a part of the problem? And so we must look at it, holistically. And I know that this is not the best time to have that kind of a campaign. But again, where will that best time will even come? So let's continue to have the conversation now, and then we can scale it up to those in public office, because the campaign is not just for young people. It's also for everybody, including those in public office. Part of it is, I am the new Nigeria. I do not give or take bribe, for example. And so you see that affect, mostly those in the public.
I've got the expression on our face.
So that's what the campaign is about. So it's about taking ownership. It's about saying that, see, if you want to blame anybody for the problem of Nigeria, look in the mirror. You want to know who is responsible for the problem of Nigeria, just look in the mirror. You will see the person. Because if we don't admit that to ourselves, we will not make progress.
Nigerians want change to come from the sky.
It won't come from, it has to come from us. So participation is part of it. Holding leaders to account is part of it.
Yeah.
Because if you as citizens, you're not playing your part, you are not understanding budget, like you were saying that people are more interested in entertainment. If you don't change that and say, no, I need to hold my elected officials to account, who will do that for you? They will continue to run wild. And so everything that we're doing around the campaign is to awaken the consciousness of Nigerians to the reality that the solution to our problems is actually in our hands. And they are not as far-fetched as we think. And I know as well that it is not a sprint. It is a marathon, but we have to start from somewhere, and we need to be consistent with our engagement.
I think and I would like to pick your brain on this, is that it would take a lot of pain to turn Nigeria around. And a lot of people do not want to feel that pain. They want Nigeria to change, but they don't want, but there's a certain amount of work. So for example, if I wanted to lose 50 pounds, I cannot do that without pain, if that makes sense. Is that the pain from not eating certain things that I would want to eat at certain times, or maybe having to work out at the gym and burn calories and obviously get body aches. So there's no way to do it without pain. But I feel like a lot of Nigerians, almost like during the protest, I remember a friend of mine would say, yes, they should go out and protest. And I said, won't you join them?
That's it.
It's like, are you looking for another person's child to go and do you think that your life is worth more than this other person? So it almost feels like maybe those people who are maybe the elites, or maybe leaning towards the elites, are waiting for people they regard as maybe plebs or whatever it is to go out and do that work for them. Or maybe when you think about the change that needs to happen for us to have a better country, there are certain privileges that you would stop enjoying.
Yeah.
So, for example, maybe VIO stops you don't have your papers complete. You can't give them 10,000 naira to let you go again. No, we're going to office to go and register your car.
Yeah, gonna be
do you get
booked.
another thing? So, what are your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. And again, and that is the argument of the present administration, even though I'm not siding with them, the policies, the impact of the policies has really been tough on Nigerians. But if you really look at the policies objectively, you will see that some economists will argue that there are necessary steps to ensure that Nigeria does not end up becoming like Venezuela or Argentina, because when you continue to subsidize and everything, and your production is not picking up and all of that, it's just a matter of time. The situation will worsen and you cannot continue to print money. It's crazy, idea. And so the policies are kind of painful, but of course, again, there's been argument around the timing of, they stop defending the Naira and they remove for subsidy and all that, floating the Naira and fuel subsidy and everything happening at the same time. And so we can say to an extent that these pains are necessary. However, some of us are also arguing that, okay, we agree that these pains are necessary for us to reposition Nigeria. However, there are certain things that we're not saying. It's also important for those in public office to feel the pain with us. Let's see, can you guys demonstrate that you are also feeling the pain so that we can understand? Because Nigerians would understand that these policies are necessary, but you must demonstrate that you are cutting down the cost of governance, the cost of that taxpayers that we spend taking care of you and your families. Let's see it, demonstrate it, all right? And then also ensure that the money that is being saved, from all of this and all of that, they are properly channeled. And of course, we've also seen state governors getting more. All right. So every time we feel the pinch of fuel, you see, we are buying fuel more now. Yeah. Part of the money is going to state governors. We need to understand that.
So the question
part of the money is going to state governors.
What's the money being used for?
That is it. So, and that is where civic engagement is also important. And we also need to take civic engagement to the state level, to the local government, to say, okay, what the savings from subsidy removal, what are they being used for? And so Nigerians can't afford to fold their hands. We can't afford not to engage. We can't afford not to ask questions. And the right questions, actually. And that is where civic education is important, so that we will know who to hold to account. So the pains at some level for change are necessary, because you really cannot have change or a turnaround without going through putting in some sacrifices. But we need to monitor and ensure that the sacrifices we are making are fair and everybody is actually making the sacrifice, and that the benefits are also being properly, redistributed. Yes, spread across. So these, I believe, are the conversations we need to start having. And so we need to start spotlighting the work of the state governors. One of the forward-looking governors I saw on X a couple of days ago, I heard they budgeted crazy amount to buy 2 Hilux vehicles. Crazy amount. And I'm like, in their 2024 budget, I was like, who is buying Hilux for?
They're talking about buying a new jet for, is it the vice president or so?
And all of those things. So those are the things that we need to say, no, we need to look into the books, like you said, understand budget, track budget. Yeah. Because this money that we are now paying for, they are supposed to go into infrastructure.
Yeah. Are they going into?
It's supposed to go into security, supposed to go into other areas. So we then need to be asking questions now. Folks at the local government level need to be asking questions, especially now that local government autonomy has now been, backed by the Supreme Court. And
even though some will argue that the elections were...
And some argue that these governors are putting in their own people.
Yes, the governors are putting in their own people. But we must, and the civil society organization, we also have a responsibility, to cascade our efforts, to the local level, so that we can ask the right questions and say, okay, these monies that we're saving, because we are feeling the pain, but we need to see the benefit in other areas.
yeah.
Where are they? So at the end of the day, citizens, we have a lot of work to do.
Wow.
All right. Well, a lot has been said. Let's look. I mean, we already mentioned some of in the course of talking, we talked about some of your success stories. Of course, some individual, some along with other organizations, starting from the Not Young to Round Bill, to the civic engagements, along with other organizations that led to about 10 million new voters. Are there other ones that you'd want to mention real quick?
Yeah, so like I said earlier on, we provide interventions because one of the things we are trying to achieve with ONN is to get young people to, again, which is also going to be tough, but get them to, in a pragmatic sense, be part of driving development in their locality. And so the whole ONN framework is designed in such a way that we're connecting change makers, across Nigeria. We're connecting them. So let's say we live in this environment, and we all love Nigeria. We're willing to do something about fixing Nigeria. On the platform of ONN, you will connect. You say, oh, you're in my state, you're in my state. Okay, let's connect. What are the issues affecting our locality? How can we, come together to fix it? And so there's a whole framework, that we've designed to educate young people on the platform on how to identify projects. What are the projects, that you can carry out yourself? How to identify stakeholders, bring stakeholders together to engage, and resolve these issues. And so those are some of the things that we are building into ONN. And for us as a foundation, we are also providing intervention in these different areas. For example, we worked with another organization to provide intervention for primary schools. We went to one of the schools. Went to one of the schools, and we saw that in FCT, not in my village in Kogi State, in FCT, some of the schools, the children were actually studying on the floor. Not paved, not, on the floor, like bad floor, overcrowded, and it was an appalling sight in the FCT, and we felt like, let's do something about this. And so we decided to put some money together to provide desks and chairs and boards and writing stuff, but we knew that we couldn't do everything. So we decided to commission a research into the state of primary education in the FCT. We couldn't go cover all of FCT. They were focused on AMAC. So we provided chairs, desks, and writing materials to support the school. But we couldn't solve all the problems. But we then decided to say, okay, what can we do to be able to address the problem in a more broad scale? We decided to commission a research into the states of infrastructure in primary schools in the FCT, starting with AMAC, and we're able to reach about 98 schools. We have about 156 public primary schools in AMAC alone. So we reached about 90 something of them. And so we did that. So the next phase now is to engage with stakeholders with the report, to let them know that this is the state of primary education in AMAC and in FCT, and it's important for us to do something about it because this is talking about the future. Currently, we have about close to 20 million out of school children, which is a time bomb for us as a country. Yes. So this is one of the things that we are doing as an organization to contribute in a very practical sense to resolving the challenges that we have as a nation.
Wow. That's a lot of work. A lot of work. And all we can say is kudos to you.
Kudos to you.
Thank you.
God
That's why we're doing what we're doing, so that people keep seeing what you're doing.
It's really important
what you're doing now. But of course, you can't do all of these things without funding.
Yes.
So we always take our time on development now to get the organizations to appreciate their donors.
Thank you. I mean, this is really great. And shout out to Madiba Foundation.
The OGs.
Yes.
This is 12 episodes now.
Yeah.
And every single representative. Almost.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let's say 9 out of 10. Always the
Madiba Foundation.
Oh,
yeah. Honestly, I mean, recently they celebrated about 30 years of impact in Nigeria.
Wow.
And so they've done so much. And so they gave us the initial grant, that we used, that we've been using for all of our projects. And then the grant came through CJID, Center for Journalism, Innovation and Development. And so shout out to CJID as well, for trusting us, to be able to execute the ONN project. And then we are this phase now where we're looking for support, because all of these projects, you know, they are like long-term projects. They are projects that ought to be sustained, because if they are not sustained, their impact will be cut short. You know, and so we have to sustain this project. And so we were looking out for opportunities, you know, to get more funding for the project.
Well, we're going to list all the donors here on the screen. And if your organization is not here, you know what to do. So that next time when he comes here.
Thank you.
All right.
We appreciate it, but thank you for all you do.
Thank you so much, Mr. Fredrick Adetiba, for, you know, bringing us into your world.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And I must say, well done. I mean, DevNow, it's a great platform.
Thank you.
You know, showcasing our work. And I also want to add, you know, like you said earlier on, it's important for us to know what is working.
Yeah.
It is important for Nigerians to know what is working. And I know that, and I think that is the gap that DevNow is filling. And it's very good, because if all we keep having out there is what is not working, it will continue to dampen the morale, the spirit of, you know, Nigerians. And we need point of hope.
Yeah.
And we need to ignite hope. So DevNow, for me, is actually one of those platforms, you know, to help, you know, spark hope in Nigerians. And that is needed.
Thank you.
So well done.
We're definitely going to make heaven.
All right, it's been a great one today on episode 12 of the Development Now podcast. We've had the executive director, Madiba Foundation, and please, I mean, you've seen the content. Share it, like it, comment. Also follow Madiba Foundation on their handles. They're very active online, very active online. Follow them, comment on what they're doing,
and join ONN.
Yes.
Organizing a new Nigeria.
Organizing for
a new Nigeria. Beg your pardon. So the first day I saw that, I'd not even met him. First time I saw, I said, man, this guy, let me see the way I said, this guy's getting mind, Sha. I'm telling you, I think I saw a picture of the launch or a clip. I can't remember where I saw it. You know, we're always looking out for development organizations that are impactful. So I can't remember where I saw, maybe on LinkedIn. I can't remember. I said, this guy's getting mind, Sha, organizing for you. Nigeria. Because like I said, I'm a process person. And I'm like, these guys are not joking. So I'm like, hey, man, this is okay.
This is nice.
This is nice. Anyway, thank you very much for being a part of it. And this is where we'll hang our boots for today.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. This is episode 12. I hope you had a great time. I hope you enjoyed our content. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. And of course, please support the Madiba Foundation. Make sure you follow them. Make sure you share this content. Make sure you tell somebody who does not know the function of the House of Assembly. Show them this video. Let them know that we're quite disappointed.
The person that I talked about, person who see this thing as
you are in trouble.
Because the person knows herself.
But all in all, we hope you had a great time. We hope you've been educated. We hope that you support organizations like Madiba Foundation, but not just by supporting them with material things, but also with your behavior, because he spoke about behavioral changes. So please wrap up that bad behavior.
All right. And it's a wrap.